afternoon. A very warm welcome to Game On. I'm Neha Bhardwaj Alter. India versus Pakistan may be the greatest rivalry in cricket, but there are two more rivalries among Asian teams that are getting spicier with every tournament. There's, of course, Pakistan and Afghanistan, but the other, which is a surprising one, is between Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, which has gotten out of hand after the Nagin dance. Players from both teams have done the Nagin dance just to show their one-upmanship over the other, and that has led to encounters between these two teams becoming intense in the recent years. So, what can we expect from today's game? How big is this game for a team like Bangladesh, who will fancy their chances against a depleted Sri Lankan side? We're going to set up this rivalry for you with Jamie Alter and Chetan Nirula. Both, I know, will agree that Bangladesh team needs to calm down at times. They get too emotional and then they react in ways that may not be the most pleasant. Guys, Bangladesh, though, like I said, will fancy their chances, especially against this injury-ridden Sri Lankan side. Chetan?
Well, hello, Meha. Hello, Jimmy.
Hi.
And hello to our viewers. The start of the Asia Cup hasn't really augured well for Sri Lanka, if we can say so. Players out of the tournament because of COVID. Their bowling is seriously depleted at the moment. The weird thing about Bangladesh is they've said that they're not looking at the Asia Cup as a preparation for the World Cup, which is probably only a slightly weirder sentence than whatever Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid have said about India's preparation. So, I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for. If they're not preparing for the World Cup in this tournament, I don't know what they're waiting for. But having said that, with the depleted Sri Lankan bowling attack in front of them, I think this is an opportunity for Bangladesh to make their presence known, make themselves known in the competition. Like we had discussed earlier as well, they have stopped kicking above their weight. If they've grown comfortable within their zone, Bangladesh cricket doesn't seem to be growing as expected. I think this is a good chance for them. This is a good format for them. And the group they are in, against Sri Lanka and Afghanistan, they could actually top this group.
The other thing, though, Jamie, is now with this kind of group and, with Sri Lanka having the problems with their with players being injured, Bangladesh actually would want to go on to win this Asia Cup. They will see this as their best opportunity. Right? I mean, I know that, of course, they will have India and Pakistan to face at some point in the tournament, but they'll think that this may be one of the best opportunities that they'll get.
Let's hope that they're thinking like that, because that shows that they have some kind of a positive intent. I think all too often, whenever it's happened, and let's face it, it's happened a lot with Bangladesh white ball teams. They put together a brief period of sustained success, and then it looks like, they might do something. They'll get to the quarterfinal of the major tournament, but, they often come undone. Now, like we've discussed, right, if a Sri Lankan team playing at home but missing their first pick, 4 bowlers, that's a massive jolt, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was just going through the squad yesterday after our show, the Sri Lankan bowlers who've been named in their replacement, right? One hasn't played for 2 years almost. One has played 4 ODIs. One's played 9 ODIs. So in a sense, it's a very raw bowling attack. And again, no disrespect to Afghanistan, but suddenly Bangladesh, if again, it's always a massive if when it comes to Bangladesh, if they can put aside, their off-field issues, again, losing Liton Das, a keeper opener, he's had sustained success since the last 3-4 years. They have their own issues. If they can just play the way that they actually can, they will emerge from that group as the best team. And once you get out of that group, then you have a good day against India, have their problems. Nepal showed, like we discussed, they controlled about, 24, 25 overs of the match against Pakistan. So suddenly Bangladesh can actually aspire to make the final.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy, because if India play the way they should, tough to beat. Pakistan, even on a bad day, can still, collectively give Bangladesh a lot of headaches.
Yeah.
But you're right. Suddenly, if things start to go their way, imagine if they beat Sri Lanka and then they beat Afghanistan, the confidence they will take. But unfortunately, we've seen all too often, once Bangladesh sides get into that knockout match, things don't often go their way. So it's still a massive hurdle for them.
Okay, now game 2 of Asia Cup, like we've been talking, it pits together Bangladesh and co-host Sri Lanka, whose rivalry over the past few years has had its share of intense and at times downright ugly scenes. The two captains, Shakib Al Hasan and Dasun Shanaka, tried to play down the heated emotions that have spilled over during Sri Lanka-Bangladesh matches, but fans of both these teams, they'll be looking for a spicy clash in Pallekele today. Given how competitive the two rivals have been in ODIs and in T20s. Sri Lanka are the defending Asia Cup champions, but they've been set back by injuries to 4 bowlers. And not just any bowlers, but their 3 frontline pacers in Dushmanta Chamira, Leheru Kumara and Dilshan Madhushanka, and their star all-rounder then, who's been their best bowler, Wanindu Hasaranga. He was pivotal in the team winning the World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe. They will now have to rely on Kasun Rajita, Binura Fernando and Mahesh Tikshana, while hoping that all their home experience comes good. Bangladesh led once again by Shakib Al Hasan. After the recent Tamim Iqbal episode, they're also without Liton Das, who was ruled out of the Asia Cup just as the tournament was about to begin. And despite losing a home ODI series to Afghanistan not long ago, they can point to some impressive white ball success this year, including against England. So this is a team under Shakib Al Hasan. I also feel that Shakib's going to play a huge role in this tournament if Bangladesh have to do well, Chetan. Given the captaincy with the whole Tamim Iqbal episode, he would want to make a mark in this tournament as a player, as a captain for his team. How important is his role for Bangladesh? And also, just the fact that this is a team in transition, but it also has some youngsters from under-19 World Cup, right? They've seen success there, and will be hungry to prove themselves on a big stage.
Absolutely, Meha. To start with Shakib Al Hasan, he's obviously a very proud player. He's probably the greatest player that has come out of Bangladesh cricket. That's just how it is. You look at his stature in Bangladesh cricket, you look at the superstardom that he enjoys in Bangladesh cricket. Obviously, sometimes his behavior on field or off field doesn't really match up to those particular levels. But he's been a star performer for Bangladesh cricket, and I particularly believe that this could be his swan song for Bangladesh on the international stage. How much longer can he go on the international stage? Probably after the World Cup, there are a few players I can see who might just want to, not maybe a few, maybe a couple at least, who want to call time on their international careers. So in that sense, yes, Shakib Al Hasan would want a good Asia Cup performance from his side. He would want a good World Cup performance from his side. It was unfortunate, the kind of roller coaster ride they have, or a merry-go-round ride they have when it comes to their captaincy with the episode with Tamim Iqbal. Liton Das obviously will be a huge miss for them at the top of the order. So their batting at the top looks a little bit lightweight, but obviously you have players who would want to make a name for themselves.
Exactly.
But then again, the bulk of the scoring, especially in the middle order, will come down to Shakib Al Hasan and Mushfiqur Rahim. These two are the players, like I said, these two, it could be time for them to end their international career journey post the World Cup. A team in transition, but probably a last gasp effort for them to make a mark. Otherwise, what the future holds for Bangladesh cricket will be very, very unknown.
When you talk about Bangladesh cricket, Jamie, it's also the emotion that's involved, right? For the fans there. It makes me think of Indian cricket in the 80s and the 90s. That's the kind of passion that you see from the fans, and that spills over, on the field as well, among the players. This whole Nagin dance, and now this rivalry being built up as the Nagin Derby. Who would have thought? But a lot of it has to do with that passion, right? And especially when the team started doing well, not really being able to know, for the longest time, they were the team in Asia that didn't do anything, that were losing constantly, right? So the moment you start doing well, against some of the better quality teams, you cannot just handle that, right? That has been the story with Bangladesh cricket.
Absolutely. It's been a very checkered history, right? Like I said earlier, there have often been enough examples of when Bangladesh white ball teams have found a sustained period of success, and then their fans, and the fans have every right to, having first been to Bangladesh in December of 97, when they were still a middling one-day team. I've seen the kind of craziness that this sport of cricket gets there, right? That Bangabandhu Stadium, as it was called back then, madness there when I went there in 97. So from that up till now, it's kind of disappointing, I think, that they've not achieved more. Yes, they've beaten England in consecutive one-day World Cups to get to the quarterfinals. But unfortunately, their success, Maya, is still down to three players. You just open up their list of the most run getters, right? Shakib is there, Mushfiqur is there, and Tamim is there. But like Chetan just said, two of them most likely will have to take a call post the one-day World Cup, which is what, 2 months from now, right? Tamim Iqbal is their leading run getter by some margin, but we've seen the fiasco he recently put himself in, or the CEO of the board president, who knows what it is. But despite this checkered past, the success still relies on three players. So that says that the rest of them, just collectively, they've had some brilliant players. Mohammad Ashful at one point, I mean, the 100 he got at Cardiff against Australia, 18 years ago? But we all saw how that story ended, right? So whenever they pick up some momentum, maybe it's misplaced arrogance. I think there's all this Nagin dance type stuff. It still comes because Shakib, despite the status he owns in, or he occupies in Bangladesh cricket, arguably their greatest player. The guy's been captaining since 2010 on and off. But he's still, and I'm going to be very harsh here, he's still a very immature player. The amount of times he's been hauled up, suspended, given leave, because somehow he thinks that he's greater than the actual game, right? Had he been a bit more serious about his attitude and his dedication to Bangladesh cricket, I have no doubt that this team would have achieved a lot more. So once again, coming into a major tournament, you said, well, they've got there 3 times in the finals, yet to win. It's because of how inconsistent Shakib, Tamim, I think Mushfiqur is carded to come in at number 6, sometimes 7. Yeah. That's a brilliant player to have walking in 6 and 7, despite how old he is in sporting years. But unfortunately, I still get the impression, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm both, I don't know, that they're just a very immature team, which is why Nagin dance. Mushfiqur Rahim, Chetan and I were there, 2016. He thought he had the game against Dhoni, right? You don't go and give send-offs when there are still 4 runs to win, right? You're dealing. Yeah. So that and the Nagin dance and the amount of time Shakib has made lewd gestures and, gotten in fights with umpires, very, very immature side, despite playing international cricket for 30 years now?
Yeah. Also, I mean, when you compare them to Sri Lanka, I mean, Sri Lanka, like New Zealand, are more of a Zen side, right, Chetan? I mean, to get reactions from Sri Lankan players is quite something. To be able to irritate Sri Lankan players is quite something. And they managed to do that with this whole Nagin dance, with Gunatilaka then coming back and doing his own version of Nagin dance. And then last year, Asia Cup, that went to another level when both teams lost to Afghanistan, and then one of them could only go through. Of course, Sri Lanka then had the bragging rights over Bangladesh in that one. But this rivalry is, it's just growing with every tournament. I want to talk about Sri Lanka and how big a problem is this for them, and whether these top bowlers of theirs, including Vanindu Hasaranga, Lahiru Kumara, Chamira, will they be able to get fit for the World Cup? Because this is still Asia Cup. I mean, I think Sri Lanka would want them, given that they've had actually such a good qualifiers, right? I mean, they won everything there. They deserve to be there in the World Cup. They played hard to get there, and now to not have their best team, best bowlers.
I mean, when Shanaka became the captain, I thought, here's a guy who is calm and collected, and just somebody who's not a superstar. I mean, they've had superstars as captains, but it's a very different phase for Sri Lankan cricket. They need somebody with a sane head, somebody who's probably a little bit away from the limelight and just knows what needs to be done in terms of bringing Sri Lankan cricket back up again, especially on the international arena, especially in the white ball formats, because perhaps they don't have the quality for the test arena anymore, but at least in the white ball format, they can still hold their own, especially in the T20 format. So it was good to see when Shanaka became the captain. Obviously, they had a decent T20 World Cup. They won the Asia Cup in the T20 format, and the qualifiers were no real surprise for me in the sense that they were the strongest team out there. It was a bit disappointing that they had to play the qualifiers in the first place, but that was just the rules, how they were, how they were framed. But talking about this moment now, obviously big misses in their bowling department. Vanindu Hasranga is almost, just a comparable superstar in terms of what Shakib Al Hasan is in Bangladesh at the moment, and he's probably the one superstar this Sri Lankan side really has at the moment. So he will be a very, very big miss. However, you have a couple of names in there who have had experiences playing in the IPL and the Lanka Premier League. You look at Mahesh Tikshana and Patirana. I mean, we know them really well, how they bowl, how they perform. And it's always been a question mark how they will translate that T20 leagues performances into the international arena. So I think this is a good opportunity for them to test. Whether or not their bowlers will come back, what I'm hearing is Hasranga should be available, and at least 3 out of the 4 should be available, and we'll have to wait as to what is the status after the Asia Cup, post the Asia Cup. So a lot of discussion on that still remaining. But having said that, yes, they would have liked to have their front choice bowling attack, but it is what it is, and I think it's an opportunity for the likes of Tikshana and Patirana to make an impression. And the moment they have Hasranga back again, he will be able to lead the bowling attack again.
And the onus will be on their batters then, Jamie, right? When you have an inexperienced bowling attack, it's your batters, you'd expect them to score extra runs, to just make sure that they give their bowlers that cushion. So yes, very much the onus is going to be on the batters.
Yeah, and the batting has not really been depleted anywhere near the way the bowling has, right?
Yeah.
Dimuth Karunaratne has been around for a long time. He's perhaps not the ideal fit for what one-day cricket has become today, but if you want someone in these conditions to bat 45 overs, you've got a very good template in what he does, right? You've got the hitters. I mean, how good were Kusal Mendes and Pathum Nissanka in last year's T20 Asia Cup, right? The hitting against almost every team. They were so crucial. They're the kind of players, I mean, Pathum Nissanka would like to go hell for leather in the power play, which works. But he's complemented by the way that Dimuth Karunaratne bats, right? Then you have Kusal Mendes. You've got Charit Asalanka, whose stats at number 5 are very, very good. You've got Dhananjaya De Silva. The guy's batted anywhere from 3 to 7. So you're batting. I know Vanindu Hasaranga can walk in and get you runs. But if you're relying on Hasaranga to score runs, that means your batting hasn't done well. So yes, the bowling is weak. But the names we just discussed, they're pretty handy bowlers to have around. They're playing at home. Still going to be tough to beat. But again, Bangladesh will really have fancied their chances after hearing of these 4 bowlers being ruled out.
If you had to look at the weaknesses really in both these teams, what would it be? Yes, Sri Lanka, we know, would be, the injury to their top bowlers, so the bowling being one of them. But when it comes to their batting, do you see any weaknesses, Chetan, for Sri Lanka?
Lack of patience, perhaps. I mean, when you talk about Nissanka and Jamie said that, Nissanka and Karunaratne, probably not Karunaratne, not that T20 foil of a batsman. Probably he would like to take his time. You look at Mendes, you look at Nissanka, you look at Charit Asalanka. He's a fabulous player of spin. Amazing player of spin. I mean, he reminds me of Sanat Jayasuriya, 96, seat of the pants style of hitting. He knows how to use his footwork. He knows how to get the best against spinners. Fabulous player against spin. But again, does he have the patience to build the innings? Does he have the temperament to make sure an ODI knock, really flows the way it is supposed to flow? So I think that's there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, Sri Lanka have a good batting lineup. I mean, they're just missing Kusal Perera. They have a good batting lineup. And like Jamie said, you don't really want to be relying on Vanindu Hasranga for runs. So the only element that's probably missing is a bit of firepower lower down the order with the lack of Hasranga and a couple of fast bowlers who could bat as well. But apart Dushmanta Chamira, I think he really bats well lower down the order. So just apart from that, I think their batting is really good. It's really well balanced. It's just a matter of making sure they know how, or they understand how to build an ODI innings. And that will be crucial for them as compared to Bangladesh, who will be very top order, lightweight, and they will rely on experience of the middle order batsmen to carry them. So I think it'll be it's your proverbial bat versus ball contest. Very, very clearly.
Yeah. How big a blow is Liton Das ruled out, Jamie?
Look, I mean, I remember he sort of first started to find some consistency in the 2018 Asia Cup when it was played in a one-day format after 16 T20, and he's been pretty good. Again, like all Bangladesh players, I've seen that we don't watch a lot of them daily, but we do track the scores, and you see him put up some good scores. He had a good run in Test cricket briefly, then he faded away. But just the kind of Liton Das that we've seen become, I think he was vice captain for a while. He keeps wickets. They use him as an opener in T20s and one days, sometimes number 3 in one days. So he's a massive blow and when he's not around, again, I just go back to even a cursory glance at their collective one-day stats. He's up there, I think top 5 or 6, I can't remember. But the runs are barely what? 2200, 2400. So it shows that despite being around for a long time, even someone like a Liton Das has not found sustained success. So anyone who even got that volume of runs in the bubble of Bangladesh cricket automatically becomes a very, very big player. So definitely a blow, but still, Mushfiqur, these guys, they've been around a long, long time. I don't think Sri Lanka's batting is going to cave in unless, I don't know, Mahesh Tikshina takes 5-6 wickets up front. It's still a decent one-day team for these conditions.
Okay, so then let's put you on the spot before I move on to Pakistan versus Nepal. Who's going to win this encounter? The highest run scorer. Chetan, you want to start with your predictions and then I'll come to Jamie.
I think it will be one of the Sri Lankan top order batsmen. Just depends. I mean, there's this talk of a bit of weather today, possibility of rain today. So it just depends the kind of conditions and who's batting or bowling first, really. But I think because Sri Lanka still have their batting lineup all together, I mean, yes, their bowling is a bit weak, but in ODI cricket, it's more the batsmen who do the job. It's not where you really need those 10 wickets to win the match. It's more the runs that matter. So I think Sri Lanka, for me, are slight favorites, if not favorites, just starting ahead of it's, let's say 55-45 for me. Sri Lanka, hard to pick who's going to be the top scorer, but yeah, probably one of the top 4 batsmen from Sri Lanka side.
Okay. What about you, Jamie?
60-40 in Sri Lanka's favor. Again, one of their top 4. Again, we discussed how good Sri Lanka is, but Chetan is right. He's a bit of a loose cannon. Top run getter is going to either be Kusal Mendes or Dimuth Karunaratne for Sri Lanka.
Okay, as long as it's not a one-sided game that we saw last night, because that then just turns out to be a damn squib. And the tournament, given this is game 2, hopefully we'll get a close contest today. But let's look back on the game from last night. Having won the toss and opted to bat, Pakistan captain Babar Azam found himself needing to do the damage control after Nepal removed the openers inside the 7th over. He and Mohammad Rizwan took the score past 100, but then 2 wickets, including the comical run out of Rizwan for 44, left Pakistan in trouble at 124 for 4. It should have turned worse for Pakistan because in the 29th over, because in the 29th over, this is what happened. KC Karan, he dropped Babar when he was on 55. The number 1 ODI batter made sure Nepal paid for their sloppiness, securing his 19th century in just 102nd innings. Can you imagine how incredible he is? Iftikhar Ahmed, he capitalized on Babar's solid platform to smash his way to a maiden ODI 100, hitting 11 fours and 4 sixes. The two put on 214 for the 5th wicket. Babar needed just 21 balls for his second 50, giving him his second score of 150 plus in ODIs as Pakistan surged to 342. Nepal were never in the chase, rocked by 2 wickets to Shaheen Afridi in the first over, and barring 2 contributions of 26 from Arif Sheikh and 28 from Sompal Kami, they had no answer to Pakistan's superior bowling ensemble. Shadab Khan ran through the lower order with 4 wickets, and Nepal were all out for 104 in the 24th over. But what a statement win it was for Pakistan. Chetan, Pakistan couldn't have asked for a better start. And Babar Azam, we're going to talk about Babar Azam in just a bit, but this was the perfect start they would have wanted against a team like Nepal.
They could have asked for a better start in terms of their innings, definitely. The first 20 overs, Nepal were really in the game, and they had a lot of debutant energy, if you can call it. They were really pushing Pakistan back. But around the 25th over is where the game really changed. I think they got really tired, didn't really have the legs to see out the second half of the innings. I'm talking about Nepal here. But again, Pakistan really made sure, relied on their experience, on the experience of Babar Azam on his knock. And then obviously they had a good second half of their innings. But yes, overall, in terms of their goal regarding the Asia Cup or the start of the tournament, the fact that they're traveling today, going to Sri Lanka and will play India on Saturday, I think that was a perfect match for Pakistan. Their batsmen got got the runs under their belt. The main batsman got runs under their belt. Rizwan got a start. The middle order got runs. They had a nice finish. Top order, perhaps a bit shaky, but again, it's on the day what really happens. The bowlers had a good workout. I think Nepal were never in the game.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So overall, a very, very decent, glorified warm-up game for Pakistan, and they will be really happy going into that game against India.
Yeah, because it's not just about the win, Jamie. It's the manner in which you win the game, right, as well. This is your first game of the tournament. You obviously want to start with that kind of a win. You're playing at home. It's a big tournament. You already are upset that, most of the matches have been taken away from you. So just like, even to just see this team mentally being in that space now, and the confidence that they would have gotten from this win. And I agree with Chetan to the extent that they would have wanted a better start from their openers, but I also think that this is when you feel like the character of the team comes through, right? When you don't have a good start and when you're shaky, and then your captain comes and saves you, along with Iftikhar Ahmed scoring his maiden ODI 100. I think that would also just collectively give this team a lot of confidence.
Absolutely, especially when you have the inconvenience of now going to a different country, playing in different conditions against a team like India, right? And look, Nepal, like we discussed yesterday, Nepal were very, very good for about 25 odd overs. Could have been a lot better in the 29th over. Babar Azam had just got 50. He was dropped, So things could have been a lot worse for Pakistan. But like you said, the character, I think we discussed it yesterday, how there's a certain calmness or stability that's come to Babar's batting since he became captain, which is sort of translated into a more consistent, stable, if we can even use that word to describe Pakistan teams. And all said and done, you are dropped, but then you convert that. You add 96 runs after being dropped. You get a 150 in a tournament opener in front of your home ground. You get a maiden 100 from Iftikhar Ahmed, who's been around for a long time, played such cameos before. Yeah. But you go on to get 342. There was no doubt, like Jason said, that Nepal were going to end up on the losing side. But these are the margins you expect as a team of Pakistan's one-day status, given their history of one-day cricket. 230, 240, whatever the margin was, that's the kind of runs. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful to Nepal, but this is the kind of crushing win you expect from teams aspiring to win the Asia Cup, to make a statement ahead of India, to try and go to India and win the World Cup. You need to crush the associate member teams who come from that due process. And not surprised that Pakistan's bowling got it together. 2 full tosses were followed by 2 wickets from Shaheen Afridi. So massive plus for Pakistan.
Yeah. Now, talking about Shaheen Shah Afridi, he was injured during the game against Nepal. And there is no clarity as of now as to how bad the injury is. But what we know is that he was seen having a long chat with the team doctor near the boundary line, and then the pacer left the field after bowling just 5 overs. In fact, the part that is worrisome is Pakistan legend Waqar Younis said this on air. I don't mind a physio around a fast bowler at third man or fine leg, but when a doctor comes, that's when it gets a little worrying, and Shaheen has both around him. Shaheen did return to the field after a few minutes, but he didn't bowl any overs after that. Now, the reason could be also because there is a big clash against India coming up on the 2nd of September. They don't want to use him in a match against Nepal, which they knew they were going to win easily. The management, of course, may not be wanting to take any risks with the left-arm pacer, but we don't know the extent of his injury. Shaheen has already taken 2 wickets, as Jimmy was saying, in the very first over of that Nepal innings. So we don't know much about the injury, but now, as it always happens, Jamie and Chetan, Indian fans, are thinking of, oh my gosh, is he going to start? Is he going to be part of the playing 11 against India? Because I think everybody knows and realizes how dangerous he can be against the Indian batters, Chetan. Is that the only way to deal with Shaheen Afridi?
We will not be thinking about KL Rahul for the next 2 days because he's not available, right? So we will be thinking about Shaheen Afridi now for the next 2 days, whether he will be available or not. I think it was more of a precautionary measure that the doctor and I mean, obviously he's their most important bowler. There's the World Cup coming. There's, forget the Asia Cup. There's the World Cup coming. If there's any long-term injury here or even a short-term injury here, he's going to be out of the World Cup. So while I agree with Waqar Younis that, a doctor on the field is never really a good side, but he is their most valuable asset. I mean, without him, they're not winning. They're not getting anywhere close to the World Cup. Forget winning the World Cup. So it was obvious that the doctor and the physio would both be in attendance to Shaheen Afridi. But I think the fact that he came back on the field, he didn't bowl. He was not going to bowl. There's no doubt that he was going to bowl again because there was no need really to really force him to bowl.
Yeah.
The fact that he came back on the field, for me, just show that it was just a precaution. They were just trying to figure out. And even if he's not available on Saturday, if he doesn't play on Saturday, because like I said, they're traveling today, and then they're going to practice tomorrow, or maybe not. It just depends. Travel also sometimes takes its toll on the player. So even if he doesn't play on Saturday, that's not the long-term goal here. He has to be fit for the World Cup. That's the long-term goal. So I don't think we should read too much into Afridi's injury.
Well, the other thing could be mind games. He just came back so that Indians would think that, oh, he's okay and that he is going to play. But Jamie, we were watching it yesterday, how he was bowling. It's incredible to watch him, right? I mean, every ball, every delivery, there is drama, there is, oohs and ahs in the way the ball's swinging in, the kind of angle he creates with that left arm. I mean, I would think, okay, here's a question for you guys. Are they the best? Is that the best pace attack in world cricket?
In one-day cricket, I think you would struggle to find collectively that pace up front in Shaheen, Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf, who's come along in leaps and bounds. Australia on their day, I mean, if Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood play a one-day match together, a World Cup, it's tough to look collectively at skill, experience, nuance, swing pace. It's tough to beat them. England have a couple good bowlers, but collectively, I would say it's tough to look beyond these three. Also because they have Mohammad Wasim Jr. behind, who's also pretty decent there. But just coming back to Shaheen Afridi, yesterday we saw, I mean, like I'm watching the poor Nepal batters stuck the crease. But there were a couple little bit I'm thinking, how would Shubman Gill play that? How would Rohit Sharma play that, 48 hours from now? So yes, he was nowhere near his, I know he bowled 144, one delivery, whereas Nepal's bowlers were all operating 125 to 130. Quick. But again, a little stiff, perhaps just, like Chetan said, they're taking it easy, don't want to rush him back. Like Chetan mentioned some time ago regarding Jasprit Bumrah's return to the one-day side, he said, and I think we all agree that he shouldn't play the Nepal match. Looking at this with the benefit of hindsight, maybe Shaheen Afridi did not need to play this match only because we all know he's come back also a couple months ago from injury. He's so vital to them in the bigger picture. Of course, I'm not saying that they expected him to hobble off after 5 overs, but maybe just given the World Cup is looming, and that India match, maybe they could have rested him because him not being there for the Nepal match was not going to make an impact on the overall outcome. But I get it. They want to make a statement. He was available. He was fit for the match. They played him. But maybe this might some way come back to bite them. And if it does, I mean, yes, Indian fans will be celebrating collectively.
And that just takes me to the next question. Those first 10 to 15 overs, when you're facing these Pakistani bowlers, how important is that for every team now in this Asia Cup and possibly in the World Cup as well? I mean, we were talking about the same thing. We said, Jamie and I were discussing this. I said, imagine he's going to be here bowling in Ahmedabad. And how will the Indian batters be reacting then, So just the kind of attack that Pakistan have, and it's relentless, right? If it's not him, then Naseem Shah comes in. Then, of course, they get Haris Rauf. Middle overs, Shadab's doing the job wonderfully, caught the wickets yesterday. So, yeah, very difficult.
True. And like yesterday, when you asked me about the weakness in this Pakistan bowling lineup, I pointed out that if Shaheen, for me, the one weakness, if Shaheen doesn't pick up those early wickets, there is a possibility that they might struggle to pick out those early wickets, strike those early blows within the first 20 overs. No disrespect to Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf, they're wonderful bowlers.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have a knack of picking up wickets, there's no doubt in my mind that they can pick up wickets if Shaheen is not playing. But Shaheen, as a strike force, if he picks up one wicket, there's a chance he'll get you another one.
Yeah.
Because he's such a fantastic bowler. He has so many variations up his sleeve. Especially with that left arm angle, with that pace that he bowls at. So he has those variations. Probably not at the Wasim Akram level, but he still has those variations where one wicket can bring two.
Okay.
He's that kind of a pace bowler. You can't say the same thing about Naseem and Haris Rauf. So that for me is the one weakness. And again, yes, Shadab Khan yesterday picked up 4 wickets, but it was only against Nepal. He isn't in that great form. I mean, obviously, maybe it'll change his form now around because once you start picking wickets, you keep on picking wickets. But again, like I said yesterday, they still don't have that fearsome spinner in their bowling lineup. So there's no doubt that without Shaheen, the Pakistan bowling attack is reduced by, if not 50%, by at least 30 to 40%. So for me, that's a big worry. And with Shaheen there and with Shaheen not there, the opposition approach towards scoring runs also changes. You want to be a bit more cautious. You don't want to take those extra risks. And you want to play out his overs and probably attack the second half of the first 20 overs, over number 11 to 20, when he probably will not be bowling as much. So I think a lot will depend on Shaheen's availability, and I think Pakistan cricket fans will be spending a couple of sleepless nights. And I agree with Jamie that even if it does mean that Shaheen plays on Saturday or doesn't play, it would mean that he has at least 10 days rest before the Group 4 stage. And I really think that Pakistan should not risk him on Saturday.
Okay, in Pallekele, Bangladesh won the toss. They've opted to bat. The pitch itself, Dasun Chanaka said we'd like to bat first as well, but it's a good toss to lose with rain around. The wicket should also assist us under the lights. Even though we have 4 key players injured, the bases are well covered. Generally, I expect some turn here because there's a bit of tear in these wickets. Very excited. 6 batters, 2 all-rounders, 3 genuine bowlers. Matisha Patirana and Dunit Velalage are playing. That is Dasun Shanaka. Shakib has said that he'll bat first. They know Sri Lanka are a very good team, so they have to be best in their batting, bowling and fielding. They've got 3 seamers and 3 spinners in their squad. Still don't have the squad, as when we get them, we'll tell you. But the other, we were talking about Shaheen Afridi being such a huge such a key member of Pakistan's squad. Let's talk about Babar Azam now. He showed his class in this Asia Cup opener as he scored 151 of 131 balls to help thrash Nepal by a massive 238 runs on a wicket that was gripping in the first innings. It wasn't a very easy wicket to bat on. Babar rescued his team, playing watchfully in the beginning and then upping the tempo. He took 72 balls to reach his 50. Then he got to his 100 in just 37 balls. And then he went into beast mode after scoring 100, hitting 51 of the next 22 deliveries. That is a perfect one-day knock. And there are so many things about this, Chetan and Jamie. One, the importance of this knock being opener of the Asia Cup. You want to make a statement, even if it's against Nepal. You've come in at a time where you've lost your openers early. There is obviously that thing at the back of your mind that Nepal might come back good. And Nepal were bowling well in the beginning. They looked like a solid team. So, you are tentative, your team is tentative to be able to play like that. And just the way he built on his innings. How brilliant was that? Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, look, like we discussed, you get a chance on what I think it was 55. I checked briefly right now, 55, and then you end up with 151. So you added all those runs after your team was in a tough situation. But again, you are number one ranked one-day batsman, right? You're a successful captain. Your team functions primarily based on how good or bad you are. The batting I'm talking about. So very, very good statement, especially because we know it's Nepal. We understand that. We're not saying it to be disrespectful, but to go to start a tournament, you have genuine designs on winning. All three of us believe here, as discussed in our earlier shows, they are the team to beat in the Asia Cup. They look like definite semi-finalists at the World Cup. 2 months from now, they could be there at the Summit Clash. So, given all that, you needed a statement from the most important one-day batsman in the game going around, and to do that, and not just get 100, but to get 151, and to show the two sides of one-day batting. Right? It's been leveled at Babar Azam that he's not as fluent in T20s and Tests as he is in one-day cricket. But look at the way he played. The team was in trouble against a team playing their biggest match of their one-day journey, grinded out the first 100, and like you said, 21 balls for the second 50?
Yeah.
Really, what more do you want from the host captain in game one? So hats off to him, and I think this is his 700 in the last 2 years, and he got about 8-9 50s. So if you want consistency as a one-day batsman, there's a reason he's ranked number one.
And for a lot of players who are struggling, who are good in T20Is, I was thinking of Suryakumar Yadav, and he was talking about, I don't know where I'm going wrong. How do you build on an innings? How do you play an ODI innings? That's exactly how you play an ODI innings, in the way Babar Azam played that. But guys, India, Pakistan. Yes, Chetan? No? You have...
They're very different players, aren't they? I mean, Suryakumar Yadav and Babar Azam, there's no comparison. I mean, and they perform different roles. So I'm not sure if that comparison is valid.
Really? I mean, I would think that you would still want to build on an innings if you've come in, especially if you've lost early wickets. If you have, like Iftikhar was talking about it when he came in the 28th over, he wasn't expecting to come in that early, but then he had to build on an innings. You can expect your openers, if Shaheen Shah gets you out in the first 6 overs, 7 overs, you might have someone like a Suryakumar Yadav walk in if he has to, build on an innings.
You're just describing Saturday's nightmare, aren't you? You're just describing the nightmare on Saturday.
Okay, I'm being told by my producer, at the end of the day, both are important batters for their team. Yes. Okay, India, Pakistan, Asia Cup, that match may not happen. And fans are worried. We're all worried because this could be a complete dampener. There's 90% rain threat. That is what we are hearing now, and that is also what different weather apps are showing at the moment, that on Saturday, the lowest rain percentage is 91%, which makes it nearly impossible for the match to take place. Hopefully, things might change. Hopefully, there are times when the weather has shown 90% upwards, and the apps have shown that, and we've still ended up having a dry day. So, and also 50 overs, maybe we'll get some parts of it. But that is the other piece of news. I think we're completely out of time. So thank you so much, Jamie Alter and Chetan Narula, for joining us here. We wrap this up. News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for the latest from the world of sports. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in the world, or a business honcho, accused of manipulating the market.
अदानी जी 609 नंबर से दूसरे नंबर तक कैसे पहुंचे? सिर्फ एक सवाल पूछा, नरेंद्र मोदी जी, आपका अदानी जी से रिश्ता क्या है?
He has given the space, the railways, the airport, which he has no experience also. So the country's interest has been compromised.
Government has been very clearly supporting few industrial groups, including Adani's industrial group.
Target Adani, streaming now. Chat GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
all of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies. A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
Ruthless, ambitious, manipulative, powerful. That's how the world knows Xi Jinping. And he's got even more powerful now. What drives China's supreme leader? He's the man who has threatened to annex Taiwan. He has torn up 30 years of border agreements with India. He wants to make China the biggest player in the history of the world by 2048. But what is Xi Jinping thinking? What shaped him? What's made him the most feared Chinese leader since Mao Zedong? A few key events in his childhood shaped his personality. When Xi was 10, the Chinese Communist Party purged his father, Mao's trusted lieutenant, Shi Zongjun.
Well, he was born with a silver spoon. He was the son of Shi Chungshun, who was a revolutionary who participated in the revolutionary campaigns in 1930s and 1940s. He studied in one of the most elitist schools in Beijing, reserved for the party cadets and the army cadets children. He also joined the Tsinghua University, which is considered to be #1 even today. Tsinghua University is like an IIT in India. Xi Jinping was sent to the villages as part of the overall campaign, and he was in a village conducting the Cultural Revolution campaign.
In 1966, the Red Guards ransacked the Xi household, forcing his sister to commit suicide and his mother to denounce her husband. Xi was then sent away to work in far-off Lianghihe village in Shaanxi province. Xi didn't flee abroad like his friends. Instead, he entered the CCP, the very party that had punished his father. Over the next 4 decades, he worked his way up the ladder. In 2012, he was elected General